Welcome to RIverTools Rainwater Harvesting module. In this module, you will learn what is rainwater harvesting, what are the system components, and what you can do to protect its functions. Rainwater harvesting is the practice of collecting and storing rainwater for future use. In some locations where water is scarce, this future use may include potable water. In the District of Columbia, rainwater harvesting is limited to non-potable uses. Rainwater is collected from an impervious surface, typically a rooftop. Using gravity, the rainwater flows across the surface into gutters and is conveyed through downspouts to a storage tank. Rainwater can be collected from other impervious surfaces, such as sidewalks, parking lots, playgrounds, and even roadways. However, the rainwater flowing across these surfaces is likely to carry more debris and have higher pollution levels. Whether rooftops or parking lots, all surfaces that rainwater flows across to fill the storage tank define the tank's catchment or contributing drainage area. Collecting rainwater flowing across any surface requires a device to funnel the water into the tank. The combination of gutter and downspout is the standard approach to conveying rooftop runoff. Trench drains are typically used for ground-level surfaces. Once water is collected and directed towards a storage tank, it needs a way to get into the tank. This is called the inlet. A tank is used to store the water for future use. If the tank holds less than 500 gallons, its common name is a rain barrel. Residential rain barrels may hold less than 150 gallons. A tank holding larger volumes is often called a cistern. Cisterns or large rain tanks can store thousands of gallons. Rain barrels and cisterns come in all types of colors, sizes, and materials. They may be made out of polyethylene, concrete, galvanized steel, fiberglass, or stainless steel, all of which are rust and chemical resistant. While most tanks are rigid, there are flexible pillows made out of reinforced polymer alloys that can be used when space is a challenge. Multiple tanks can be interconnected to increase storage when the area for the tanks is narrow. If interconnected tanks are arranged on steps, the elevation adds pressure, helping to increase the speed and forcefulness of the outflow. Tanks can be positioned on a structure at ground level or in an excavation below grade. A River Smart School rain tank will likely be above ground and opaque to prevent exposing the stored water to sunlight, decreasing the chance of an algal bloom. An outlet is key to accessing the stored water for future use. A rain barrel's outlet will have a spigot. Connecting a garden hose to the spigot, you can use the gravity to water plants downhill. Some cisterns have pumps and piping to send the stored water to locations when gravity won't do the job. What happens when your storage tank is full or the intensity of the rain exceeds the inlet? An overflow allows excess water to safely bypass the system. During dry weather, the rain tank's catchment can build up bacteria from decomposed insects, birds and animal waste, leaf litter, and pollen. It is important to prevent these undesirable elements from being washed into the storage tank with the first rain. This issue is addressed when screens and diverters are included. If rainwater is harvested for outdoor irrigation and the water is dripped, then treatment is not required. However, if the water is sprayed or used to irrigate edible plants, it will be important to consider water quality. A RiverSmart school site delivering harvested rainwater in any form other than drip irrigation should have a treatment component. It will be important for RiverSmart caretakers to be able to identify if their site's rainwater harvest system has a treatment component and know how to check for functionality. In a system improperly managed without adequate maintenance, the water can become contaminated by animal waste, rotting vegetation, and other surface materials carried by the rainwater into the storage tank. Diverting the most polluted water carried by first rains and filtering the rest will not remove all the possible contaminants. A rainwater harvest system supporting edible gardens or using spray irrigation should have a disinfection component. Disinfection is often achieved through chlorination. A sophisticated system with pumps will have an integrated component to continuously release chlorine from an automatic feeder tab. These systems may have additional filters and a UV light. Why is rainwater harvesting valuable? Previous modules in this RIverTools series discuss the importance of keeping rainwater close to where it falls. We do this to protect our rivers and streams from the effects of urban surfaces. Rainwater harvesting is one of many strategies used to reduce runoff and help protect our watershed. This is a sustainable, cost-effective approach to landscape irrigation. It can provide water to locations with little or no water access, and untreated rainwater produces healthier vegetation. The productive life of a RiverSmart School's rainwater harvesting system will rely on the attention of all the site's caretakers. If sized, located, and installed correctly, the rainwater harvest system should not require significant inputs. However, non-professional caretakers are the first line of defense. Your observations and regular actions will help avoid issues requiring substantial interventions. First and foremost is observing the system during rain events. If the rainwater is not able to enter the tank, then the tank is either full or the entrance is obstructed. If opening the outlet or spigot creates capacity allowing inflow, then the stored water is not being adequately used during dry periods. If cleaning the leaf litter, screen, or diverter allows inflow, then these components require more frequent attention during dry weather. Regularly observe the conveyance and storage tank inlets for obstructions. After a recent rain is the best time to take a look. Leaf litter and other debris will build up over time. If the buildup is not removed, rainwater will be prevented from entering the tank. Remove large objects. If there is a filter insert like screen or mesh bag, temporarily remove this, rinse it, and reinstall. If the filter screen is punctured or the mesh bag is torn, these will need replacing. Check the tank frequently during dry weather stretches. If the stored water is not being adequately used, the tank will not have room for new water when it rains. If you know a big storm is approaching and the tank is full, open the bottom spigot and let the full tank draw down. It is important to check component connections regularly. During the wet weather seasons of early spring and late fall, make certain each component is properly in place. Loose connections can provide access to all sorts of animals and insects. Above ground, unsealed tanks are especially vulnerable. You will want to regularly check the tightness of all access points. Use mosquito dunks with systems without a disinfection component. Take note of overflow. Is it properly connected to the tank? And is there ground cover, rocks, or some other method to ensure any overflow does not cause erosion? If your RiverSmart school site has a large cistern, it may have a chlorination tank. Check with the site facility manager to see if you have a role in adding chlorination tabs. This is typically needed once a month. If the system has a mechanical pump and an ultraviolet light or other type of water quality component, the site facility manager should know the manufacturer's prescribed maintenance tasks their frequency, and if you have a role to play. If your River Smart School rain tank is above ground, you will need to drain and disconnect the inlet during winter months. If water is stored in the tank throughout winter, the freeze-thaw cycle could damage the tank or break component fittings. Once the tank is emptied, set the inlet so all rain events are directed away from the tank through the overflow. Don't forget to reverse the action in the spring once temperatures are above freezing. Ongoing maintenance of a rainwater harvest system is primarily a function of watching, with seasonal points requiring draining and cleaning. Wet months require the most attention, but don't overlook the dry stretches between rain events to note water use and protect against filter clogging. The most important role you have as a caretaker of a River Smart School rainwater harvesting system is to remember to use the water for its design demands. Don't forget, even with a disinfection system, this is not potable. It is not unusual for the cinder blocks or a concrete slab supporting a rain barrel or cistern to develop small cracks or even have minor settling. However, if cracks or settling are observed when a tank is on an elevated structure, alert an authority immediately. Water is very heavy and a failed support could have catastrophic results. Take note of any performance issues you might observe. Frequent filter clogging, a dark water color, and odor may indicate a water quality issue. Alert the authorities as the tank may need a professional service. Congratulations! You've completed RIverTools Module 5. This completes the series. Use the narrated PowerPoints as a resource to educate others and as a reference to complement the checklist-based RIverTools field manual.